Staff Sergeant Camila Viper. Garcia pressed herself against the concrete barrier as enemy bullets chipped away at her cover, the distinctive ping of her empty magazine echoing in her ears. 20 meters away, insurgents were advancing through the rubble-strewn street, and she had exactly 1 round left in her M4 carbine. That's when Navy SEAL Commander Jake Reaper Sullivan, pinned down in his own firefight 50 meters across the battlefield, saw her predicament and made a decision that would save her life. Without hesitation, he hurled his personal weapon through the air in a perfect arc, shouting, "Viper, catch!" as enemy fire intensified around both their positions. But to understand why Commander Sullivan would risk everything for a Marine he'd only met 3 months earlier, you need to know how Camila Garcia had earned her call sign in the most hostile combat zones on Earth. Camila Garcia grew up in East Los Angeles, where protecting your family meant everything and backing down meant nothing. Her father worked double shifts, her mother cleaned offices at night, and Camila learned early that when people needed help, you didn't wait for someone else to step up. At 18, she joined the Marines not for college money or career prospects, but because someone told her it was the best way to protect people who couldn't protect themselves. Marine Corps training revealed what her instructors called natural tactical instincts. She moved through combat scenarios like she'd been born in them, understanding cover and concealment with an intuition that couldn't be taught. Her marksmanship scores broke range records, but what really set her apart was how she approached every mission like lives depended on her performance, because they always did. During her second deployment to Syria in 2019, Camila was assigned to joint operations with Navy SEALs, including Commander Jake Sullivan, whose reputation preceded him into every combat zone. Sullivan was a 15-year special operations veteran who'd never met a Marine. He considered his equal in combat effectiveness. Then, he worked his first mission with Viper Garcia. The operation was a raid on an ISIS command center that intelligence reports had drastically underestimated. Instead of 12 enemy fighters, there were 30. Instead of light defensive positions, they found overlapping fields of fire that turned the factory complex into a kill zone. Sullivan's SEAL team was pinned down immediately, taking sustained fire from multiple buildings while enemy fighters maneuvered to flank their position. Standard protocol called for Camila's Marine Squad to maintain overwatch and provide covering fire for extraction. But when she saw Sullivan's team about to be overrun, protocol became secondary to keeping good people alive. Without permission or backup, Camila disappeared into the rubble-strewn landscape and systematically dismantled the ISIS defensive positions from behind. She eliminated 14 enemy fighters in 15 minutes, cleared the building where civilians were being held, and established a safe extraction route for the hostages. When Sullivan's team reached the factory, they found the entire complex secured by a single Marine who was calmly providing security overwatch from the roof. "I've been in special operations for 15 years, Sullivan told her after the mission debriefing. "What you did today was impossible." Camila shrugged, cleaning her rifle with methodical precision. "Just did what needed to be done, sir. Your team would have done the same for mine." That conversation marked the beginning of a professional relationship based on mutual respect. Over the next year, Sullivan specifically requested Camila's participation in joint operations whenever possible. Her ability to operate independently behind enemy lines, combined with her unwavering commitment to protecting others, made her invaluable for the most dangerous missions. Which brings us to that street in Ramadi, Iraq, in March 2021. The mission was supposed to be routine intelligence gathering on a suspected ISIS leader named Abu Khalil, believed to be operating from a safe house in the city's industrial district. Sullivan's SEAL team would conduct surveillance and target confirmation, while Camila's Marine Squad provided perimeter security and extraction support. Intelligence reports indicated minimal enemy presence. Maybe 6 guards, light weapons, no heavy defensive positions. The kind of mission-experienced operators could complete without breaking a sweat. The reports were catastrophically wrong. Abu Khalil wasn't just an ISIS leader, he was the regional commander for all ISIS operations in western Iraq. The safe house wasn't lightly defended. It was a fortress containing over 40 well-armed fighters with military-grade weapons and explosive devices. The industrial district wasn't a quiet neighborhood. It was the center of ISIS operations for the entire province. When Sullivan's team approached the target building at 0300 hours, they walked directly into a complex ambush that had been planned for weeks. Enemy fighters emerged from concealed positions in 6 different buildings, creating overlapping fields of fire that turned the street into a killing zone. All call signs, this is Reaper Actual. Sullivan's voice crackled over the radio as automatic weapons fire erupted around his position. We are taking heavy contact from multiple positions, enemy strength significantly higher than expected. Muzzle flashes lit up the darkness from at least 8 different positions, all focused on the concrete barrier where Sullivan's 4-man SEAL team had taken cover. The staccato rhythm of AK-47s mixed with the deeper thumping of a PKM machine gun, sending rounds ricocheting off the street around their position. Reaper Actual, this is Viper, Camila transmitted from her Overwatch position 3 blocks away. I count 8 active firing positions, enemy movement on your eastern flank. Copy, Viper, stand by for extract coordinates. But as Camila watched through her night vision scope, she could see the tactical situation deteriorating rapidly. Enemy fighters were advancing under covering fire, using destroyed vehicles and rubble piles to get within grenade range of Sullivan's position. The SEALs were outnumbered 10-1, pinned down by accurate fire and running low on ammunition. An RPG round streaked across the street, impacting the wall behind Sullivan's team and showering them with concrete fragments. The explosion was followed immediately by intensified automatic weapons fire as enemy fighters pressed their advantage. Reaper, you've got 12 fighters advancing on your eastern approach, Camila reported, tracking movement through her scope. Range approximately 60 meters and closing. Roger, Viper. Can you provide covering fire on that position? Camila calculated the distance and angles. Negative, Reaper. Too much dead space from this position. You need to displace now. Unable to displace, Sullivan's voice carried the strain of someone coordinating a desperate defense. Enemy has overwatch on all movement routes. We're effectively pinned. Through her scope, Camila could see exactly what Sullivan meant. Enemy fighters had established positions that covered every possible escape route, creating interlocking fields of fire that would cut down anyone who tried to move. The SEALs were trapped in what military tacticians call a kill sack, a carefully prepared position where enemy forces can concentrate overwhelming firepower on a small area. Another RPG round screamed overhead, this one closer than the first. Enemy fighters were zeroing in on Sullivan's position, and it was only a matter of minutes before they achieved a direct hit. Sergeant Peterson, Camila addressed her squad leader quietly. Reaper team is about to be overrun. I need to move to support. Peterson, a veteran Marine who'd served with Camila for 8 months, studied the battlefield through his own night vision device. Garcia, that's 200 meters of open ground under enemy observation. Every route to their position is covered by multiple firing points. Sergeant, if I don't move now, we're going to lose them all. Peterson looked at Camila's determined expression, then at the tactical display showing enemy positions surrounding Sullivan's team. He'd seen that look before, right before she accomplished things that military manuals said were impossible. What do you need from us, he asked. Covering fire on the northern positions when I signal. Draw their attention for 60 seconds. Camila checked her equipment one final time. 7 30-round magazines for her M4 carbine, fragmentation grenades, night vision device, and the tactical instincts that had kept her alive through 2 combat deployments. She looked at the battlefield one more time, calculating routes and timing, then disappeared into the rubble-strewn landscape like a ghost. What followed was the most audacious battlefield movement in modern military history. Camila crossed the first 50 meters using a drainage ditch that provided concealment from most enemy positions. She moved in short rushes, timing her movement with the sound of gunfire that masked any noise she might make. When she reached the end of the ditch, she was halfway to Sullivan's position, but completely exposed to observation from the eastern building where enemy fighters were coordinating their assault. She waited for a lull in the firing, then sprinted across 15 meters of open ground to reach the cover of a destroyed truck. Bullets sparked off the metal around her as enemy fighters spotted her movement, but she was already rolling behind the vehicle before they could adjust their aim. From her new position, Camila had a clear view of the eastern building where 6 enemy fighters were preparing to advance on Sullivan's position. She raised her M4 and began engaging targets with the precision that had earned her call sign. Her first shot took down the fighter carrying the RPG launcher, eliminating the most immediate threat to Sullivan's team. Her second shot caught the machine gunner as he tried to relocate his weapon. The remaining 4 fighters immediately took cover and began returning fire toward her position. "Reaper Actual, this is Viper," she transmitted while bullets whined overhead. "Eastern threat reduced. You have a window to displace." "Negative, Viper," Sullivan responded immediately. "Western positions still have overwatch. Where the hell are you?" "Approximately 100 meters south of your position. Working on the western positions now." Camila could hear the disbelief in Sullivan's voice. "Garcia, you left your overwatch position? That's a direct violation of orders." "Sir, sometimes following orders gets good people killed." She was already moving again, using the covering fire from her squad to mask her approach toward the western building. Enemy fighters were so focused on the incoming fire from her Marines that they didn't notice a single operator moving through the shadows below their position. Camila reached the base of the western building and began climbing the external fire escape with the silence of someone who'd learned to move without making sound. She could hear enemy fighters above her, shouting coordinates and directing fire toward Sullivan's position. On the 3rd floor, she found 4 ISIS fighters manning a PKM machine gun that was keeping Sullivan's team pinned down. They never heard her approach. Her suppressed M4 eliminated all 4 targets in less than 10 seconds, and suddenly the heaviest enemy fire stopped. "Reaper, Western Overwatch is clear," she transmitted while checking for additional threats. "You have freedom of movement to the south." But even as Sullivan's team began moving to better positions, Camila could see new problems developing. Enemy fighters from the northern and southern buildings were repositioning to maintain fire superiority, and she could hear vehicle engines approaching from the east. Reinforcements that would turn an already desperate situation into an impossible one. "Viper, we've got movement from multiple directions," Sullivan reported as his team established new defensive positions. "This is turning into a company-sized element." Through her night vision device, Camila could see exactly what he meant. ISIS fighters were emerging from buildings throughout the industrial district, converging on their position with the coordinated movement of a well-planned operation. What had started as an ambush was becoming a full-scale battle against overwhelming odds. "Reaper, recommend immediate extraction," she transmitted, while engaging new targets from her elevated position. Enemy strength approaching 40-plus fighters. "Working on it, Viper. Air support is 15 minutes out. 15 minutes might as well have been 15 hours. Enemy fighters were already within grenade range of Sullivan's new position, and Camila could see muzzle flashes from at least 12 different firing points surrounding the SEALs. That's when she made the decision that defined everything about who Camila Garcia really was. Instead of maintaining her overwatch position and waiting for air support, instead of following standard protocol for overwhelming enemy contact, Camila began hunting. She moved through the building complex like a predator stalking prey, using her knowledge of urban warfare and natural tactical instincts to appear behind enemy positions before they knew she was there. Her M4 carbine became an extension of her will, eliminating threats with surgical precision while she maneuvered to protect Sullivan's team. In the northern building, she found 6 ISIS fighters preparing to launch a coordinated assault on Sullivan's position. They were focused on their attack plan, checking weapons and coordinating timing. Camila eliminated all 6 before they could execute their assault. In the southern building, 4 fighters were setting up a mortar to provide indirect fire support for their advancing forces. Camila's precise shots destroyed both the mortar crew and their equipment, eliminating the threat of indirect fire. One by one, she systematically dismantled the ISIS attack before it could overwhelm Sullivan's position. But every engagement consumed precious ammunition, and she was running dangerously low. 23 rounds remaining. From her position in the southern building, Camila could see the next wave of the attack developing. A group of 12 ISIS fighters was advancing through the eastern approach, using fire and movement tactics that indicated professional military training. They were organized, disciplined, and moving with the confidence of fighters who believed they had overwhelming superiority. Camila engaged them immediately, but the mathematics were brutal. 12 enemy fighters, 23 rounds of ammunition, and no backup within supporting distance. Even with her exceptional marksmanship skills, the numbers didn't work in her favor. Her first 3 shots eliminated the lead elements of the advancing force, but the remaining 9 fighters immediately took cover and began suppressing her position with automatic weapons fire. They had identified her location and were directing concentrated fire toward the building while continuing their advance. 18 rounds remaining. Camila realized she had to move again. Enemy fire was too accurate and sustained to remain in her current position, but as she prepared to displace, she saw something that made her blood run cold. While she'd been engaging the eastern group, another force of ISIS fighters had used the distraction to advance on Sullivan's position from the west. 8 fighters were now within 30 meters of the SEALs, preparing for a final assault that would overrun their defensive position. 15 rounds remaining. Camila had to make an impossible choice: continue engaging the eastern group that was suppressing her position, or shift fire to protect Sullivan's team from the immediate western threat. Either choice left one group of enemy fighters free to complete their mission. She chose to protect her people. Camila shifted her rifle toward the western advance and began engaging targets with calculated precision. Her shots had to be perfect because she didn't have ammunition for mistakes. 1 round, 1 target, 8 fighters advancing on Sullivan's position. Her first shot dropped the lead fighter just as he was preparing to throw a grenade. Her second shot caught another fighter as he tried to flank around Sullivan's position, but return fire from the eastern group was intensifying, forcing her to stay low while bullets shattered windows around her. 11 rounds remaining. The western advance was faltering under her accurate fire, but the eastern group was now close enough to assault her building. She could hear them on the stairs below, moving with tactical precision toward her position. 8 rounds remaining. That's when everything changed. "Viper, this is Reaper Actual," Sullivan's voice crackled over the radio with an urgency she'd never heard before. "I can see your position. You're about to be overrun from below." Camila could hear the enemy fighters getting closer, their equipment rattling as they climbed the stairs toward her floor. She had maybe 60 seconds before they reached her position, and not enough ammunition to fight her way out. "Roger, Reaper, I'll handle it." "Like hell you will," Sullivan replied. "You're about to be outnumbered 8-1 with minimal ammunition." Through the building's windows, Camila could see Sullivan's position approximately 50 meters away. The SEALs had managed to establish better defensive positions using the time her attacks had bought them, but they were still surrounded and under fire from multiple directions. 6 rounds remaining. Enemy fighters reached the floor below her position. She could hear them coordinating their assault, preparing to clear each room systematically until they found her. Standard room clearing procedures would give her maybe 30 seconds before they reached her location. "Reaper, I'm about to have company," she transmitted while preparing her few remaining grenades. "Recommend you focus on your own extraction." "Negative, Viper. I'm not leaving without you." That's when Commander Jake Sullivan made a decision that violated every principle of sound military tactics, and demonstrated why Navy SEALs earn their reputation through actions rather than words. Instead of focusing on his own team's survival, instead of maintaining his defensive position while she dealt with her own problems, Sullivan began moving across the battlefield toward her location. "Reaper, what are you doing?" Camila transmitted as she watched him leave cover and begin advancing under fire. "I'm coming to get you," Sullivan replied calmly, as if crossing a battlefield under enemy fire was routine procedure. "Sir, you'll never make it. Too much open ground, too many firing positions." "Garcia, I've watched you do impossible things for the past year. Time for me to return the favor." Camila watched in amazement as Sullivan moved with the fluid precision of someone who'd spent 15 years in combat zones. He used every piece of available cover, timed his movement with enemy fire patterns, and advanced with the professional competence that had earned his own legendary reputation. But she could see what he couldn't. Enemy fighters in the northern building were tracking his movement, preparing to engage him as soon as he entered their field of fire. 4 rounds remaining. Camila had a clear shot at the northern position, but taking it would reveal her location to the ISIS fighters who were currently searching the building below her. Once they knew exactly where she was, they'd coordinate their assault and overwhelm her position within minutes. But Sullivan was about to walk into a kill zone. She didn't hesitate. Camila's rifle cracked twice in rapid succession, eliminating both fighters in the northern position before they could engage Sullivan's advancing figure. Her shots were perfect, center mass hits that dropped both targets immediately. 2 rounds remaining. But her muzzle flashes had revealed her exact position to every enemy fighter in the area. The ISIS fighters in her building immediately began moving toward her location with renewed urgency, and she could hear coordinated movement from multiple directions. "Viper, I saw your muzzle flash," Sullivan transmitted as he continued his advance. "You just compromised your position to protect me." "Sir, you were about to walk into a crossfire. Someone had to take that shot, and now you're about to be overrun because of it. 1 round remaining." Camila could hear enemy fighters on the stairs leading to her floor. They were moving quickly now, knowing exactly where she was and confident in their numerical superiority. She had 1 round left in her M4, 2 fragmentation grenades, and tactical skills that had kept her alive through dozens of similar situations. But she'd never faced odds like this. The first ISIS fighter appeared in her doorway, AK-47 raised and ready to fire. Camila's final round took him down instantly, but she could hear at least 3 more fighters behind him, moving up the stairwell with coordinated precision. 0 rounds remaining. She reached for her grenades, but enemy fire from the stairwell forced her to stay behind cover. Multiple fighters were now engaging her position with automatic weapons, keeping her pinned while others maneuvered to flank her. That's when she heard Sullivan's voice over the radio, closer than before. "Viper, I'm at the base of your building." "What's your situation?" "Out of ammunition, multiple contacts in the stairwell, about to be overrun." There was a brief pause, then Sullivan's voice came back with absolute calm. "Roger, stand by for immediate support." Camila heard explosions from below as Sullivan engaged the enemy fighters in her building with grenades and precision rifle fire. The incoming fire from the stairwell stopped abruptly, replaced by the sounds of a firefight on the lower floors. "Viper, stairwell is clear, but I'm taking fire from multiple positions and running low on ammunition myself." That's when Camila realized the full scope of their tactical situation. Sullivan had fought his way into her building to extract her, but now both of them were trapped inside with enemy forces surrounding the entire structure. He'd saved her from immediate death, but trapped himself in the process. "Reaper, you need to extract immediately," she transmitted. "I can handle my own situation." "Negative. We're leaving together or not at all." Sullivan's voice was getting closer as he fought his way up the stairwell, eliminating threats and moving toward her position, but Camila could see through the windows that enemy fighters were repositioning to surround the building completely. "Sir, enemy forces are surrounding our position. If we don't move now, we'll both be trapped. Then we better move fast. Sullivan appeared in her doorway 60 seconds later, equipment blackened with smoke, carrying his M4 carbine and looking like he'd just fought through a company of enemy soldiers, which, Camila realized, he essentially had. "Garcia, you ready to get out of here?" "Sir, I'm out of ammunition." That's when Commander Jake Sullivan made the decision that would become legendary throughout special operations communities. Without hesitation, without considering his own tactical situation, without weighing the risks to his own survival, Sullivan handed Camila his primary weapon. "Take my rifle," he said calmly. "I've got my sidearm and grenades." "You're the better shot for long-range work." Camila stared at the M4 he was offering her. "Sir, that leaves you with minimal firepower." "Garcia, I've seen you shoot. You can do more with 30 rounds than most people can do with 300. Take the rifle." She accepted the weapon and immediately checked the magazine and chamber. 30 rounds in the magazine, 1 in the chamber. 31 rounds to get them both out of an impossible situation. "What's the plan, sir?" Sullivan moved to the window and studied the enemy positions surrounding their building. "We're going to fight our way out. I'll clear the path with grenades and covering fire. You provide precision engagement of targets that threaten our movement. Sir, there are at least 20 fighters between us and friendly lines." Sullivan looked at her with the calm confidence of someone who'd spent 15 years overcoming impossible odds. "Garcia, impossible is just another word for something we haven't figured out how to do yet. You ready?" Camila chambered around in Sullivan's M4 and moved to the window beside him. Through her night vision device, she could see enemy fighters positioned throughout the industrial complex, waiting for them to attempt an escape. "Ready, sir." What happened next lasted exactly 4 minutes and 37 seconds and became mandatory study material at every military academy in the United States. Sullivan led the way down the stairwell, using fragmentation grenades to clear rooms and corridors, while Camila provided precision fire support from behind. They moved with the coordinated efficiency of a team that had worked together through multiple combat deployments, each understanding their role and trusting the other completely. When they reached the ground floor, Sullivan used his final grenades to create an exit through the building's eastern wall, avoiding the main entrances that enemy fighters were covering with automatic weapons. They emerged into the industrial complex behind enemy lines, exactly where ISIS fighters weren't expecting them. Camila immediately began engaging targets with Sullivan's M4, eliminating threats before they could react to the SEAL's unexpected appearance. Her shots were surgical in their precision, 1 round, 1 target, moving systematically through enemy positions while Sullivan provided close-range security with his sidearm. They fought their way through the industrial complex like a force 3 times their size, appearing and disappearing from cover positions, engaging targets with deadly efficiency while moving constantly toward friendly lines. When ISIS fighters tried to establish defensive positions, Camila eliminated them before they could set up effective fields of fire. When enemy forces attempted to coordinate their response, Sullivan disrupted their communications with precisely placed shots from his pistol. 4 minutes and 37 seconds after leaving the building, they reached the perimeter where Camila's Marine Squad was providing overwatch and fire support. "Viper, Reaper, this is Peterson," her squad leader's voice crackled over the radio. "We have eyes on your position. You're clear to friendly lines." Camila and Sullivan crossed the final 100 meters under covering fire from the Marines, moving with the tactical precision that had gotten them this far. When they finally reached safety behind friendly positions, both were exhausted, nearly out of ammunition, and covered with the dust and smoke of urban combat. "Garcia," Sullivan said as they collapsed behind the Marine defensive line, "I need my rifle back." Camila handed him the M4, noting that she'd expended exactly 18 rounds during their fighting withdrawal. "Sir, I saved you 13 rounds. Sullivan checked his weapon and looked at her with an expression that combined amazement, respect, and something approaching awe. Garcia, in 15 years of special operations, I've never seen anything like what you did tonight. You saved my entire team, fought your way through impossible odds, and completed a mission that should have required a full platoon. Camila shrugged, beginning to clean her equipment with the methodical precision she applied to everything. Just did what needed to be done, sir. That's what Marines do. That's not what Marines do, Sullivan replied. That's what legends do. 2 weeks later, Commander Sullivan submitted a detailed report recommending Staff Sergeant Camila Garcia for the Navy Cross, describing her actions as the most exceptional display of individual combat effectiveness and selfless courage under fire he'd witnessed in his entire career. The citation read, "For extraordinary heroism in action against enemy forces while serving with Marine Forces Special Operations Command during combat operations in Iraq." Staff Sergeant Garcia's exceptional courage, tactical brilliance, and unwavering commitment to protecting fellow service members resulted in the successful completion of a critical mission and the preservation of numerous lives. But when they presented her with the medal, Camila's response was typically understated. "This belongs to every Marine who taught me what it means to serve," she said during the ceremony. "This belongs to everyone who showed me that protecting others is more important than protecting yourself." The story of what happened that night in Ramadi became legendary within special operations communities, but Camila never sought recognition for her actions. She continued serving with the same quiet professionalism that had defined her entire military career, accepting the most dangerous assignments and consistently exceeding every expectation. Because for Staff Sergeant Camila "Viper" Garcia, protecting people who couldn't protect themselves wasn't just her mission. It was who she was. When Commander Sullivan handed her his rifle that night, he wasn't just giving her a weapon. He was trusting her with his life, with his team's lives, with a mission that seemed beyond the capabilities of any single person. And in that moment, as Camila Garcia proved that sometimes the most important qualification for completing an impossible mission isn't training or equipment or even experience. Sometimes it's just being someone who refuses to let good people die on their watch. She demonstrated why some Marines become legends while others simply serve. The difference isn't in the uniform or the training or the equipment. The difference is in understanding that when good people are in danger, impossible becomes just another word for necessary. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, you can subscribe to see more incredible stories like this one.